Welcome back to my series on how to create realistic buildings and landscapes in Minecraft. This installment will be covering one of the most important aspects of making a realistic build: planning. There's a famous adage from Benjamin Franklin that goes, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." Likewise, if you do not approach a Minecraft project with some sort of plan, later down the line, you will encounter issues that make the build challenging or lead to an unrealistic result. By planning early, we save ourselves a headache later. The first step of planning a project is to define a project scope. It's much harder to feel satisfied with completing a project if you don't have some idea of what the finished product should even look like. It's also generally advisable to set small, achievable goals rather than biting off more than you can chew. For this video series, my goal will be to replicate a British townhouse with some surrounding gardens and landscaping. Equally important to setting a scope is having references to draw on. This is especially important if you're aiming to reproduce a structure as accurately as possible. However, even when a builder is designing their own building, they'll draw from relevant historical references to guide how they build. If the building you're referencing is still standing, Google Maps and Google Earth are great references. For buildings that were demolished or have been heavily renovated, period paintings, drawings, and photographs can be found on the internet. I'll be using this Victorian London townhouse as my example reference. I'll be supplementing Google Maps with some blueprints that I found by searching the house's street name. Before we can use our references to create a plan, we need to discuss the concept of scale. A Minecraft replica, just like a map, architectural drawing, or any sort of model, has a scale. The scale describes how the size of the model relates to the size of the real object. We usually write a scale as two numbers separated by a colon. The first number refers to the number of units in a model, and the second refers to the equivalent number of units on a real object. Many people assume that the 1-to-1 scale, where one in-game block is equivalent to one real-world meter, is the definitive scale to build out in Minecraft. However, our team has found that slightly larger scales, such as 1.25-to-1 or 1.5-to-1, feel natural to explore as a player and allow for more opportunities to add detail. At the end of the day, what scale you pick doesn't matter. The important lesson is to prioritize keeping a consistent scale throughout your project. I'll be using 1.25-to-1 scale for this example project. Now we're ready to bring our plan into the game. First, we'll want to get our reference pulled up in Google Maps. If we right-click, we can bring out the Measure Distance tool to give ourselves a real-life measurement to use as our scale. I'll then use the Snipping tool to bring this imagery into GIMP Image Editor. Now, we need to scale the image properly. When we bring the image into the game, 1 pixel will be converted to 1 block. So for our build to be at 1.25-to-1 scale, we'll want our measurement in pixels to be 1.25 times longer than our real-life measurement. So this 100 meter long line that we measured in Google Maps should be 125 pixels in our image. We can use GIMP's measure tool to see that it's currently over 1,000 pixels long, and we'll perform some quick math to figure out the fraction that we need to multiply it by to bring it down to just 125 pixels. We'll then also multiply it by 100 to make it a percentage. Using this percentage, we can use GIMP's scale tool, scale by that same percentage, making sure that we're scaling both the length and the width by the same amount. If we measure this line again, we'll see that it is in fact about 125 pixels, so we've done our math correctly. I'm going to quickly repeat the process with a historic map as well. Now we can save this image and upload it to any image hosting site. I'm going to use Discord. You can get the link to the image by selecting the option to open it in your browser and open it up. I'm going to copy the link, and now it's finally time to go into Minecraft. By running the command //image, then pasting the link in, and then adding the word false, our plan is exactly brought into the game as blocks. Now we've brought our plan from a simple concept to an in-game layout. In the next video, we'll cover the basics of proportions and start to bring this build into the third dimension. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this series helpful or interesting so far, I'd really appreciate you showing your support by liking, subscribing, or sharing with a friend. As always, I hope to catch you in the next installment.